Welcome to the Artist Work Ethic Podcast. I'm Mike Pelak. I'm a screenwriter and filmmaker who's always looking to maximize my time and potential as I work to break in. In this podcast, I talk to artists of all kinds who have seen success in their fields about their process, habits, and work ethic. Today on the show is Mountainhead. Ben and Kyle Hanna are brothers from Ontario, Canada, and as Mountainhead have quickly gained acclaim in Canada with a top 40 single and international attention thanks to the Wu-Tang Clan taking notice to their cover of Shimmy Shimmy Ya. Soon they'll be coming to a city near you. A couple quick things before we jump into the episode. I've talked in the past about myself working on breaking into screenwriting. Please check out blackoilfilms.com/screenwriting. There you can check out some of the screenplays I've written. I have the first 10 pages of each one uploaded, but feel free to email me at theartistsworkethicpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to send you a full script if you're interested in reading. The script I want to highlight today is a feature drama called Stay What You Are. Stay What You Are is about a workaholic, former punk rocker who desperately attempts to relive his rock and roll glory days through his daughter's 10th birthday party, while his marriage and career hang in the balance. Last thing before we get into the episode, I would love anyone listening to subscribe, rate, and review the Artist's Work Ethic Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps us put the show out there for more people to listen to. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, man.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Yeah.
So you guys put out a lot of content, between songs, videos. It seems like you have something coming out every couple of days. Where are you pulling that drive and creativity from to stay so consistent?
Well, Michael, this has been a long time coming. I don't know if you know about discipline at all, but it's really tough to get yourself nice and disciplined up because we want to just F off everywhere. Well, at least that's what I find with myself. So it's taken us a long time, but we really have like a pretty good schedule weekly that we follow. And that's like our background. So if we're like, I don't know what to do right now, it's like, oh, right here, right. We've got it right here.
Well, yeah, that or practice music.
Well, that's part of the schedule, right?
But the other thing too is because we haven't really had shows.
Right.
So especially if I look back at like 2019, we had such a tremendous amount of momentum build up, and we had all these cool things happen with like the Wu-Tang Clan and sharing our music, and our singles were doing well, and then we started to sell out a lot of shows and started to play like the big clubs and sell those places out. And there was at the top of 2019, we played the Drake Underground in Toronto, and it was just jam packed, sold out, bunch of industry there, and we were like, okay, we're gonna fuck it up this year.
Ticking up on the roller coaster.
We're gonna take the game over here, and then we all know what happened about a month later.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we had to figure out, because we couldn't just abandon what we were doing, and we had to figure out how to remain irrelevant, or just at least show up to get people to find our music
And to keep ourselves occupied,
that's
too.
number one.
All that's gone. It's like, well, this is life, and you have to adapt because you never know what's going to throw at you.
And so what Kyle said earlier, like we get really disciplined on certain things, like especially yoga, meditation, all that stuff. And also like the Indian classical music, we study quite a bit. So we were always like dialing it in, and finding where we're, like Kyle's saying, fucking off or slacking off. And the pandemic was definitely like, okay, we have to make a content train.
Well, at first, because it was like, well, this might be the end of the world. We're partying it into the ground.
Yeah.
So we did that for a while. Now you got to like drag yourself out of the wild party. And like, okay, let's get it on the track again here.
We always joke that we're the new age rock stars, where it's rock and roll to take care of yourself
instead of fucking yourself up like it used to be.
If you're going to responsibly be taking certain substances, responsibly take them. And a lot of these tools are very insightful and becoming very popular for depression, anxiety, and all this stuff. So it's funny where...
No wonder, though, as well. Like it's obvious to me, but
yeah,
I've been in the pit before.
Yeah, it's just always trying to change the mindset so we don't feel stagnant and we don't start, breeding mosquitoes.
And again, we have like our discipline thing, what we should do, and also our content schedule. Okay, every Tuesday we're going to do this. It's just to keep us in line and also keep the message clear to the audience. So, but again, this has taken us a long time to like really drill this into us where we're actually doing it and not going,
Yeah.
So do you think the work ethic comes from how you were raised, or was there something else in your life that drilled that into you? I mean, I think for me, I assume for my own, whatever my own work ethic is, I'm sure some of it was instilled by my parents, but definitely when I found punk rock at age 16 or whatever,
exactly,
that was the thing that made me go, oh, I can do things. You just have to do it, you know?
Exactly. And that's the punk thing, like that in history, that's like exactly what like the everybody was realizing.
We'd say, yeah, the community's not here for me. I got to build it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing is like realizing that you can have an effect on the world, but it's up to you. Like there's nobody going to push you, or it's like you got to do it. And then that means you got to organize yourself out of complete chaos. It's like, okay, you need a schedule then. It's like you just got to organize yourself into the world. You can will yourself through organization into the world.
Yeah. And I mean, a funny thing I've noticed is it seems like, especially in the West here, that everyone's head kind of has this like 180-degree inversion where interiorly everyone's trying to control things that are out of their control
right.
and not control things they can control. Where it's like if you tick off the things you can control,
you're not worried about
you're not going to worry about
variables.
the things that you can't control, and those things that you can't control are going to be easier to deal with because you have now put yourself up to another level where you can cope or you can understand.
Using your power properly. Again, like you can just make yourself a good meal.
Yeah.
Have a nice shower, cold shower at the end to really just push yourself.
Yeah, if you're into Wim Hof,
things that you can control.
And I would say definitely there's a lot of things our parents instilled in us.
Great question, by the way, because I never really thought of it.
In terms of work ethic and like, you know, our parents were really good at letting us be ourselves, but showing us where the line was. And
if we crossed it, it was like,
and letting
you're
us,
fucked.
Yeah, letting us know, which was cool because we were, you know, free to do as we please, but there was a clear line where you're like, this is not, I wouldn't say inappropriate, but it's like, this is where you don't.
This is where your boundaries are.
Yeah, exactly. And I find a lot of people either don't know where that boundary is or they ignore it.
And if you ignore your boundary, it's a negative feedback loop. And people are like, oh, I just want to be positive. But now you have no boundaries and you're just anxious because it's infinity in front of you.
Yeah. It's like a
dog. You need that negative. Negative isn't bad. It's just the other side of the coin.
Yeah. The other thing too, I would say, similar to you, is like once we, you know, because our parents were, you know, they followed a more traditional path in life, and when
we were the first artists to break off of the whole genetic chain here. So that was kind of like, what the fuck
that was
are these guys doing?
That was a little bit of a turbulent area, but it's it all turned into smooth sailing afterwards. But it definitely, because the music thing became an area where they couldn't really relate to us or help us, and of course. Work ethic, but one thing I found with Kyle and I was like, you know, our dad's a very active person and a very like push, get it done, and like I can get it done, and like I can get people to help push the boat. But when you start to push in music, you run into some serious issues because
push that song out. Come on,
yeah, you can't do that. It's a very at least for us, it's a very passive way of bringing our music into reality, and it's a passive way of living in order to catch the songs that are floating around. So that was interesting, and especially with shows, and especially like as you're slowly embedding into the industry, and you know you start getting management and agents and all this stuff, and you can't just be like, all right guys, go full blast, let's go. Like you have to flow with each other, which is really counterintuitive to a lot of
the Western mind.
Western mind and
all active.
Yeah.
One side of the coin. It's like you have a full brain here, not just the left side.
Yeah. The other side of your brain's like, can I please?
I'm just trying to make communication with you here. Like, what the hell?
No. Can I have a say in this? No, you get out of here.
Yeah. A recurring theme that I've found in this podcast, and I've talked to other musicians, I've talked to actors, writers, directors, a pro wrestler. I mean, I've kind of run the gamut.
Sick, man.
And I think the thing that keeps coming up is that the people who end up successful find ways to do things to set themselves apart from their peers.
Exactly.
Yes.
What like sorts of things would you say you've done that have helped you progress?
There's quite a few things.
Quite a few things, but like this is one where this is how you kind of like skirt the mind and it's nonsense ruminating. Is like your job is only to show up. You have to show up every day. Regardless of how you feel or what you're thinking, if you show up, this is your hedge against chaos. You just got to be consistent. It's very simple, but very hard at the same time when you go to apply it.
And we've found the more you show up, the more the invisible path will reveal itself. And, you know, any time where we've been at a breaking point, because, you know, we still do have a studio, but we ran a studio for a long time before we started just occupying that studio with our time. And it was like, you know, we get asked a lot if like this whole idea of our brand image and sound hit at once, but it was all like
progression.
A progression. And it all kind of like fit in as we kept like nipping at that thing. Like, what is that? What is that? And it kind of it just happens over time. And what I was going to say was anytime we kind of reached a point where it seemed like we were fucked or like things were going to fall apart, some big thing happened to be like, yo, keep going. I know it's getting a little bleak here, but like, whether it was, you know, landing a big show or something big happening with the music or whatever it is, like something to be like, yo, you're on the right spot. You just got to keep showing up, as Kyle said.
Yeah, and you just, because then it's all judgment in your head about, like, we've done this too, like, oh, this gig's going to be shit. And, like, we took a bunch of weed pills goofing off, and then all of a sudden we're setting up the gear, and we look up. It's like on the street, and there's 250 people in front of us, and we're like, oh, fuck. What are they here for? It's us.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we have to do something.
Why are they looking at us to do
disrespect
something?
the gig, and we just get kicked in the ass.
Yeah.
Hard.
And it's funny, too, that we said it before. Like, that gig is like a pretty funny one for us because we've run into so many people in so many places in Ontario. They're like, oh, we saw you guys play that show. And it was
Oh,
unreal.
God, no, not that one,
Really?
really.
All the places, you know. We played some nice places. We played with some bigger bands. We played some cool shows. But, like, the one on the street where we had to set up our own fucking PA and do all this nonsense was the one that, like, seems to keep recurring. So, we, you know, that was a great lesson in respecting the gig.
It doesn't matter what we think about it. It's like, who cares what you think or feel about
Exactly.
it? Just do it and show up.
Exactly. And do it. Nike's telling us.
You mentioned when things do get tough that you just keep pushing through and showing up. Aside from just showing up, how do you feel like you handle the rejections that come with, you know, the creative business?
God. This is a good one, man, because you're not getting away from the self-doubt loop of thinking. Like, you're gonna get smashed by it all the time.
The thing I would say with us is we just don't take the industry, we don't take that whole thing that serious. I would,
but like negative or positive reactions, it's like they're, again, if you're in the center, they're the same.
Yeah,
it's just like staying steady.
Staying steady. And it's like what I would say is like Kyle and I, with what we're doing, we're pretty comfortable with it. So how someone else takes it is kind of erroneous to us.
Right, and that's just, again, a judgment of a mind that's, who knows what's going on with them. It's like the judgment thing is not too high on my importance list.
Yeah.
Again, it's like getting the work done. Just the work. It's
And
like the thing that will never fail you or judge you.
Yeah, and I mean the other funny thing, especially in the industry with like people, it's funny where in the earlier days, like some people in the industry have said the same thing to us on opposing sides at different times in our career. So something that they initially said was like, oh, you know, the vocals really aren't soaring out of this song, which is, again, something we're doing purposely. But then, you know, 2 years later, that song's done well, and we're getting radio, and we're doing all this thing, and those people are like, oh, you know, your style, like it's your vocal thing. It's like, oh, okay, so now that
you just don't
someone
listen
else
to it.
told you it's cool, now you'll say it's cool. It's so we've dealt with that a lot in different bands and different aspects of the music business. So like, it's just like water under the bridge, like whatever you can say whatever you want.
It sounds like it's I mean, it's a little bit cliche, but just staying true to your own, you know,
That's
your
exactly.
own vision.
It's cliche for a reason, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to try to knock you off a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone's trying to get, you know, everyone's trying to get to that next level. You know, not everyone can.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly, man. And you don't have to pull each other down so you go up. Like, this is our big, again, we're mammals, so like it's not a big surprise that we have this pyramid hierarchy going on that like, fuck you. It's like, again, skirt that. Just stay with yourself and do what you want to do and stick with it.
Yeah, fortunately, we're at the level now as mammals where we're not all viciously competing for genetics.
Nice. Yeah,
but
you
we
don't
still
tear each other apart.
still
We do
play
it
out
mentally
these
now.
these genetic games and these alpha, bravo, omega games going on. And again, we are mammals, but it's
Still watch the cycle going.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of goofy.
yeah, we don't have to go out there in a ring and tear each other apart.
how important has being a good collaborator been in what you've achieved, whether it's, you know, within yourselves, other musicians, the team that you've assembled around you?
Cool, man. Good question there.
First and foremost, I would almost say, and I'd say this like almost as a joke, but I feel like Kyle and I are the embodiment of collaboration, just because we're able to collaborate on such tight levels in all aspects of our lives that like we almost use each other as reflection points to keep each other in on what we're doing, because neither of us can kind of, if one of us doesn't show up, then Mountain Head's not a thing, you know? So that, and then having this relationship from us makes it easier as our team grows to stem that collaboration out, because we're solid, we're not bickering, we're not really caught up on who's doing what. So I would like to hope that that gets communicated out with everyone we're working with.
And a big, huge thing, especially for the team, and this sounds silly, but I've experienced it everywhere, is like you need to be able to communicate. Just straight up talk to each other. It sounds simple, but there's so many people out there that are just not listening and have their going off on their own idea and be like, but we're not even on Earth here. Like, tell me straight up what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of dodging just horse shit.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And like you gotta, like Kyle said, the communication, like if it's not clear, if you and I had a communication point on something we were going to do and it wasn't clear and both you and I left confused, we're now in our own closed system in our heads, ruminating off our own bias. So we're only going to be self-confirming what we thought happened there. And if two parties that aren't communicating are now self-ruminating on their own bias, the message is fucking gone.
The aim's gone.
And confusion is now lurking everywhere.
Exactly.
Anything you guys want to plug before we go?
Yeah, we got a new record, or an EP, I guess they call it these days, coming out March 18th.
Called Backseat.
It's called Backseat.
Yeah.
It does contain the
these stories we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and it contains the Smash Top 30 hit Let It Out, and hopefully another Smash hit. Who knows?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on with me today.
You as well, Mike. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for listening today. Please subscribe to the Artist Work Ethic podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, and please rate and review the show. Follow us on Instagram at The Artist's Work Ethic, and check out theartistsworkethic.com.